really the goal is just to use our stories to bring veterinary medicine to life for the pet caretakers of the world. And we're doing it because we believe that educating these caretakers is the most powerful thing that we can do to improve the life quality of all of the pets that we love. Hello, everybody. This is Vet Tales. I am Dr. Natalie Keith.
And I'm Dr. Mariah Goodall, and we are with Northside Veterinary Hospital in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Yep.
Today we're talking about itchy pets.
Yes, the tale of the itchy pet.
Yes.
It's just astronomically common problem.
Absolutely.
All day.
I mean, bread and butter around here.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, so our goal with the podcast is always to, have a tale to go with it. And it was actually a little challenging for me to select one in my mind, not because I could not think of one, but because there's so many that my brain was just like paralyzed with the paradox of choice.
It was like, which of the 4 I saw yesterday, or the 3 I saw the day before, or the 17 I saw last week?
No doubt.
Yeah.
Or the first one I cried about. Anyway, so I did finally pick one, and I was like, okay, in my dream vision, like maybe month 3 we'll be ready for this in the podcast journey, of having like client interviews. What was it like for you to have an itchy pet? Like, what was that moment when you realized, like, oh, this is gonna be a problem? And so I thought, okay, I had an itchy pet before I was a veterinarian, and so that's the story I want to tell today.
Okay.
So I was straight out of high school, living in my own place, so that meant I could make my own choices about pet acquisition.
I remember that step.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, this is why my parents kept telling me no. So anyway, I get this rat terrier. He was a nervous little fellow named Trapper. He looked like a baby deer because he was just like all legs.
Yeah.
And just about as uncoordinated. And I want to say he was probably about 8 or 9 months old when I first started noticing that his little white tummy started to be a pretty pink tummy.
Such a classic age for
that. It is. Yeah. Like, in humans, I feel like, I don't know, allergies develop really early. And in dogs, we'll see it actually start. It could be as early as 8 months, but a lot of times they're
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, 100%. Statistically, 2 to 4 is the most common time. Anyway, we'll get into that. But so there's little pink Trapper, and he was itchy. So I had just started working at my very first job as a technician at this very, very rural vet clinic. And so we do all the normal things. So we try antihistamines, we try anti-itch shampoos, we've got mousse that we're putting on him, and it, just for like some perspective, this is coming up on 20 years ago, so things have changed. And then it's like, okay, it's time for steroids, and then Depo-Medrol is an injectable steroid that we still use today, but very, very rarely, whereas opposed to at that time it was a gold standard.
Yeah, kind of the only thing you had.
Yeah, unless you were going to get oral steroids every day. And anyway, so we tried that, and it would help, but it wouldn't really resolve it. And so then we started, and of course I'm doing all the parasite control to make sure it's not like a parasite related itch. And it's still just like, he's naked. This poor dog just looks like a baby rat at this point. And so we get him on special diet, so we're doing all that thing. At this point, he's approaching 2 years of age. So I've been, like, beating myself about the head and shoulders over this deal for well over a year. And finally, we ended up allergy testing him and finding out he was allergic, in fact, to the world and the planet and everything in and on it. And so we get him started on the desensitization shots, and it was a miracle for him. Within a couple of months, we were seeing some pretty significant relief, and by the time he'd finished his course in about 18 months, it was still a maintenance thing, so we still had to do some things here and there, but he grew his hair back, he became white instead of pink again, and we made huge progress with that. So he literally was kind of the iconic case of random allergy that manifests in the classic skin ways and persisted through every possible way that you could manage it. And we still had to go all the way to the end of allergy testing, which isn't the journey for every dog, but that's for allergy patients, it can be that long and frustrating and drawn out and lifelong, honestly.
Yeah, sometimes it does go that far, especially those white-haired, pink-skinned dogs. They just don't handle the allergens. Their skin doesn't build up. And so, yeah.
That's, So why don't we, I think now that we've kind of talked about, like, a story of an itchy dog, why don't we break down, like, why do pets itch? We say dog a lot because this is really, we see it manifested way more in the dog than the cat. They certainly get these things too, but not as frequently. Do you want to kind of walk us through the categories of itchy pets? Like, the different reasons why they're itching?
Yeah. So atopy or eczema or allergic dermatitis, those all kind of fall under the same thing, and that is what your dog experienced. And that's, when we say bread and butter, we saw 17 cases, like 95% of what we see is that. And that's a skin barrier issue. I do kind of like to call it eczema when I'm talking to clients because they know what relatable. Eczema is in people, even though technically that is atopic dermatitis or atopy also. So that's one of the big broad categories. And then we have so many more, but when you're talking a young dog like Trapper, another thing you think about is demodectic mange, and so that'll cause a really classic skin allergy or skin itch that is on the legs, primarily in the face, and less so on the flanks, which is where Trapper was seeing his, right?
Yeah.
So that's a bit different. Then you can get into some autoimmune diseases, which are really fun and exciting, and my story will touch on that a little bit, actually.
Awesome.
So those are kind of the most common ones we see. You also get a contact dermatitis, so dogs that have shampoo not washed all the way off, or we started a new laundry detergent, or they laid in the garage on the oil spot for hours. It's kind of an allergy, but it presents differently, like for sure.
Almost, yeah.
And then food allergies, yes, huge. And then frustrating because they so often go along with eczema, with skin allergies.
Because all the things she's saying they could have any combination of these things too. So it's not like, we found it, it's definitely this. It could be like all of them or any of them.
Yeah, for sure. And so my story, I'm going to call this dog Spot. It's not his name, but we're going to call him Spot. So Spot came in as he was roughly 4-year-old, long-haired German Shepherd-y type dog, and he had just started kind of losing hair everywhere. And so you run through kind of your initial first diagnostics, did a skin scrape to check for mites, make sure that wasn't a problem. Even though he wasn't a young dog, you also worry about sarcoptic mites or scabies.
Especially when they're real itchy like
that. Yes. And he was tearing himself up. Sores.
Oh.
Yeah, he was bad. Did skin impressions to see like what sort of bacteria, yeast, what's growing on his skin, because obviously we had an infectious cause to this too with the wounds and everything, or an infectious aspect, not a cause necessarily, and started treating him for atopy, for skin allergies, and he wasn't really responding. Even steroids weren't really helping this dog. And so then we started, we actually ended up going to a biopsy of his skin because he didn't respond to steroids. He didn't respond to Apoquel, which is a product that we use a lot for skin allergies. And we ended up doing the skin biopsy, and it came back as seborrheic adenitis.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is an autoimmune disease where the body actually attacks the oil glands in the cell, or the oil glands in the skin, and it makes them incredibly itchy. It makes their skin incredibly dry. They get these huge flakes.
Poor dude.
And a lot of times they will tear themselves up like Spot was. And so then we actually started him on cyclosporin and doxycycline, and his skin had become so scarred he never fully grew his hair back, but we got to where we weren't having the big open wounds, and so that's just kind of, we checked his thyroid too at one point, just kind of this process. I mean, it took,
is a process.
Like with Trapper, it took a year to get to the bottom of what was going on with this dog, what treatment plan was going to work for him, and getting his skin back under control. And so it it's frustrating for us because we want to be able to hand you something safe and effective, like
quickly
and quick, like Apoquel or Cytopoint, and it just works.
Yeah.
And we see you for refills or re-injections, and everyone's happy. And it's frustrating for the owners too. I mean, I have a dog at home who itches anytime she doesn't get her Claritin, and so that in and of itself is annoying because she's rubbing against the couch and she's moving the furniture.
It's not just the pet that's miserable. I was talking with my sister-in-law just kind of about this podcast coming up, and she was like, I remember when Charlie was so itchy and he would go into the bedroom above us, like he would hang out there, and we our bedroom was below there, and he would thump all night, like she just hear this boom, 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 all night long on the bottom of the floor, and you're like, it was just miserable for everyone in the family, and we're looking for something, a quick relief.
Yeah. With my dog, my husband has this yellow couch. He has a black dog, so he got a yellow couch.
It makes sense.
Makes sense, right?
That way you can tell if it's not clean.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want to hide that.
And there's this line right at her chest level, where she rubs against it of black hair on this yellow couch.
That's amazing.
And so the couch gets vacuumed frequently.
Yes.
Which
things we do for our pets.
It is. It's amazing what we do.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so that both of these situations are radically different. One is a Trapper's an atopy case. Spot is an autoimmune case. So you've got your environmental allergies, your food allergies, you've got parasites. It may be, if you're lucky, your vet finds fleas when you come in, and it's like, boom, there's the cause. I actually can fix this with a pill. And
here's a NexGard. Take it for the next 3 months.
Yeah,
congratulations. At least, yes, you're one of the lucky ones.
You are. You win. The autoimmune, the endocrine issues, and so much of this is about working through that process. One thing that Bethany, our Australian office manager, whom we cannot get to be on the podcast, was such a shame because you would love her accent. She had posted up on Facebook, kind of that we were going to be discussing itchy dogs, and there was all these questions what can we do? And so a lot of it is kind of just people want to start working on it at home first, but then it's at what point do we need to come in, and then what is that process going to look like, which can be extremely variable depending on the signalment of the pet, how old is it, what breed is it, because a lot of this is genetically related issues. Doodles, I love them, but boy howdy do they come in with the atopy and the ear problems.
Yes. I mean, I've gotten to where when people bring in a doodle puppy, I'm like, just...
Insurance!
Get insurance now while it's healthy, and expect to be in here frequently for skin and ear issues.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, no one told me that. And it's like, well, you didn't ask before you got the dog.
Yeah, right. I'm telling you
now.
Before we have a pre-existing condition... Get insurance.
Yeah.
You'll thank me later.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that's another podcast in and of itself. But anyway, so she posts up this this get rid of the itch or ditch the itch. This is what she called it, which is super clever, I thought. And I have this one of our amazing clients that I won't name, but she knows who she is. She puts up this post that says, "Is dry blood or brown discharge in the ear normal with allergies?" I'm just going to read you the whole post because I think this is exactly what's happening in the heads of all clients. So is dry blood, brown discharge in the ear normal with allergies? Is it all throughout both her ears? And then, like, is it normal for them to shake their head every few minutes? There's lots of swelling and redness. It's not every day or all day. It just started a couple of weeks ago. And then she says, at what point do I need to make an appointment? Do I wipe out the ears or let it just come out on its own? Is there anything over the counter that can be given? Are there allergy tests to see what she's specifically allergic to? Are there any preventions or recommendations to help with the head shaking? And it's just like, going on and on. It's like, yeah, these are the questions that we're all asking. Mm-hmm. There was another client that says, so I've tried some over-the-counter shampoo. So what antihistamines can I use? What do I do next? So if you've got a patient, Dr. Goodall, that you suspect is just a typical allergy itchy dog, what are you recommending for them?
So I do typically start recommending just antihistamines, and that varies from dog to dog. There's information out there on the internet, but if you want to talk to us about it, we can definitely walk you through starting an antihistamine. And then I also tell them to go ahead and get started on fish oils or omega fatty acids.
That was another question. Thank you
because it, especially when we talk about the white dogs, if you think about their skin as a brick wall, I think this is our favorite.
This is our favorite analogy.
It is.
We're like one of those little keyboards where you hit the button and like a horn honks, but for us, you hit the button and a speech comes out.
Yeah.
So here's the brick wall speech.
The brick wall speech. So if you think about their skin as a brick wall, and the bricks are the cells in the skin, and the mortar is what helps keep all of the allergens out of the skin layer. That mortar's falling apart. It has holes in it. It's letting the allergens through the brick wall, and that is what the immune system is reacting to. It's really not that these dogs are any more reactive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to blame the immune system, but it's really the skin barrier.
The skin is not keeping the allergens out. And so when we do things like shampoos and mousses, that helps from the outside to help build that mortar back up. But then also when you add in omega fatty acids and skin support, then you build that from the inside out. And I do warn my clients, my pet owners, that the omega fatty acids, you're not going to notice a difference in a week. You're not going to notice a difference in a month. It's going to take about 3 months for that new skin that they're building right now to work its way out to the upper layers.
But the shampoos are a good right now fix in that middle space. Yeah. But not any shampoo.
Yeah, not any shampoo. You want one with ceramides in it. And there's the one ceramide that's really important that starts with a P that I can't...
I like to call it phytostigmines, and I am 100% sure that that's wrong.
Yeah.
But that's what I say, and I say it with conviction.
Yeah. I think that's what I say, too, because
it's very hard to
probably
pronounce.
Because I've heard you say it so many times. But I'm always like, this is wrong.
It definitely starts with a PH.
It does, yeah. But it's really important if you can find a shampoo that has that in there. And we have one here. It's called Dermalay.
Yeah. Well, and then we also have the
Duox.
Yeah, we don't know how to pronounce it either, but we can spell it.
Yeah.
It's essentially important that shampoo be on contact for 10 full minutes. Mm-hmm. It's soap free, so that's important to mention because we're not going to be stripping off the oils. And as it's sitting on that skin for 10 minutes, then we're going to have the opportunity for it to penetrate through those brick wall layers into the dermal layers and repair that skin barrier.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's...
But it does help them, immediately they've got some relief.
Yes, they do. You hear a lot of people saying, they're good for a day or two after I shampoo them.
That's why.
Yep, that is why.
Yeah.
So, and then there's that new, collar that's out there.
Oh, I haven't tried it, though.
Yeah, I've only had one try it, and I heard good things about it. It's just, sometimes new things come out, and it's difficult to remember and incorporate it into your practice. But if you're That was my phone.
Falling to the ground.
Falling out of my pocket. But, you know, if you're looking for something like a shampoo that's, you know, maybe lasting a little longer, or you just can't bathe your dog because he's 200 pounds or, you know, whatever, that collar's a great option.
A Topavet.
That's it.
That's what you were going to Google with your phone.
Yeah.
When you dropped it on the ground.
So
It's hard to remember all the names of the new products because they really
is.
are doing a great job of coming out with new safe ways to improve pet skin conditions.
I feel like the last decade has been like the decade for itchy pets. Like Zoetis
As
has
it should be.
done so much.
They really have.
Which we're about to get into Zoetis products, like talking about them, because the next step after the antihistamines don't work and the fish oils don't work is we'll typically talk about either Cytopoint or Apoquel.
Yeah.
And those are prescription products, so we will definitely need to see your pet, but they're wonderful for managing eczema, atopy, atopic dermatitis, allergic itch, however you want to refer to that. But that's also the point where we may start talking about food allergies.
Yeah, because if they don't respond to Apoquel or Cytopoint, you better cock an eyebrow.
Yeah, you've probably got something else going on. We may also talk about at that point thyroid testing, or if you have a senior pet who's become incredibly itchy, Cushing's testing.
Yeah, because signalment and like the age and the breed of the dog is going to help us decide, are we more, like if we've got a 3-year-old doodle, all of a sudden we're like, maybe more food allergy than a thyroid or a Cushing's, or, you know, you're not going to probably see an immune-mediated issue pop up at that juncture in life. You could, but usually they're going to be pretty young or pretty old. And so you start kind of working through it, and food allergies are fun. Just a whole bag of fun. Maybe 12 to 15 bags before you get through.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to work through the first thing we always suggest, just because, honestly, I think I do it both because it's easier for the client to digest, is switching just the over-the-counter protein.
Agree.
It's actually maybe not the best first step, though, because...
It's a double-edged sword, because the FDA did a study where they took like 21 brands of food, tested all of the DNA in them to see if they were accurate, because all of these brands said that they did not have chicken in them. And they checked them all, and they all had some chicken, and one bag of food or one brand only had chicken in it. And it's not technically against the rules to do that, because they can change their protein source from bag to bag or batch to batch. As long as they are not changing it consistently for over 6 months, they don't have to relabel their product, so long as they're meeting the minimum crude protein amount.
Yep.
So if they're shy on lamb today, they can throw in some chicken. So you may have one bag that meets your needs and the next not.
Yeah. And you hear that sometimes. You'll hear people say, "Well, we opened this new bag, and now everything's come back." And it's like, well, probably
there's some chicken in there.
Yeah,
chicken is the number one.
Number one, yeah. And,
allergen in dogs.
And then beef follows closely at 3. Which sounds funny, closely at 3, but they're all kind of, those top 5 are all really high up there. But, chicken and beef are the most common things you're going to find in your over-the-counter
Which is
diets.
probably why you have more dogs developing an allergen to them over time.
Yeah, because they're exposed younger and everything.
Yeah, and people will come in and be like, I'll mention, hey, like, I'm concerned this is food, and they'll be like, no. She's eaten this food since she was a puppy. And I'm like, Yep,
there's the problem.
Yes, which is very counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It's like, no, she's always had this, and she's never had this problem until now. It doesn't make sense from a logical standpoint, unless you're really looking at the way the immune system works, and it's that chronic overstimulation that's leading to this hypersensitization and overreaction to that exposure over and over again. Just like if you get stung by a wasp, the more times you're stung, the more likely you are to have extreme reactions.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's how any allergy works. We just don't think about it in that way. We think, oh, I'm allergic to ragweed. Well, do you notice that each year you have to take more Claritin until the Claritin doesn't work.
This
and then
year was awful. Yes. Yes, I've noticed.
and then you have to switch.
Yeah.
But for us, it happens so gradually, so slowly. And it probably happens that way for the dogs, but it's that tipping point that, oh my gosh, she kept me up tonight. When it was just she was itching while you were at work.
Right. Or finally getting like the scratch marks because the itching has gotten so intense.
Yeah.
And so that's why people end up bringing them in. So when should they bring them in? And I think that's probably it. When you're noticing it's affecting your pet's quality of life. It's not just a scratch here or there or a head shake here or there. It's like they're doing it obsessively. It's stopping their normal behaviors. It's keeping them up at night. They're wounding themselves. There's signs of hair loss or lesions. Like these are times where you've really got to get help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever the cause.
Oh yeah, whatever the cause, because then we can start investigating, and as we spoke about it, it's a journey, and so let's get them in before we're also battling infections and deep wounds, and we've got to get that under control before we can figure out why they're itching in the first place.
Yep.
Because it just makes your journey longer.
Yeah. You've got to get kind of back to like a good baseline before you can you got to get rid of all those secondary issues before you can even get to what the initial cause was. So I always tell my clients, just like, put on your seatbelt, we're going for a ride. It's gonna be bumpy. Expect some turbulence.
We're gonna get real familiar.
Yes, exactly. So when I see you every 2 weeks for the next 2 months, and then every month for the rest of your life, no, it's not that bad. Usually we can get a hold of it, but it does. It's a process depending on the dog situation and your compliance level, and the people in the house, and everybody being on board.
Yeah.
So.
If Dad refuses to not give table scraps, you're going to be battling food allergies for the rest of your dog's life.
Yeah.
It's always the husband.
I know. Well, or I find the grandma.
The grandma.
The grandma that babysits. It's always her.
Yeah.
That doesn't listen to the prescription diet rules.
Honestly, I feel like that's more difficult, an adult who's not listening, than the children who drops food on the floor.
Yeah. Well, because you can put your dog up while the kids are eating.
Yeah. So don't be the problem in your household.
That's our advice. Yeah. That's our medical advice. Identify the problem and don't be
it.
Anyway, okay, so we're coming in on 27 minutes. They're paging us for rooms because we're here at work, by the way. So we hope that you've learned something today. This won't be the last time we've talked about itchy pets 100%. But here we are jumping off itchy pet land territory.
Yeah. And August is Itchy Pet Month. So.
It is. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's Itchy Pet Month here.
So 'tis the season.
Tis. So good luck to all of y'all with the itchy pets. We're here for you if you need us.
For sure.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.